just get some adjustment done. Oh, no, there it goes.
Telemetry lost.
This is the A26 Invader. It's actually a mid-range bomber that served in 3 major conflicts over the course of 25 years. But it definitely wasn't loved by everyone. So join me as I build this remote control model and explore the history of the A26 Invader. With me, I have 2 335 kV brushless motors. These are King Val again. I have used them in past projects and they're pretty cheap, coming in at about $55, which is a great deal. The real life A26 had 2 Pratt & Whitney R2800s, and these motors were actually capable of producing 2,000 horsepower. Now the R2800 was an 18-cylinder radial engine, and over 100,000 were produced during World War II. That was probably the easiest and quickest motor install I've ever gotten to do. I am so very happy that went very, very quickly. We're gonna go ahead and get some old ESCs and wire those up, and hopefully they will stretch long enough to get into the main part of the fuselage. I think that's where I wanna put my batteries. I might see if I can put the batteries underneath the wings where the retracts are, but I'm just not sure if those will fit. So next is ESCs. All right, so we have the 2 ESCs wired up. I went with XT90 plugs and then 4mm bullet plugs on the back end. We're gonna try and attach these underneath of the engine nacelles or inside, and then use the cowlings to cover them up so that you can't see a bunch of wires hanging out. These are some older ESCs that I pulled from a twin EDF project, but they should hold up fine. Should.
And working correctly.
Oh.
So that is ACCS3 done. If you find that you have problems with it, it could be that you have a mismatch of flow.
So I made a small error and totally burnt one of my ESCs, which these are cheap and they're old, and I figured they would be able to handle the power of these 335 kV motors. I was wrong. And I was trying to get them calibrated and accidentally jumped the throttle and completely smoked this ESC. So I got some new ones here that are a bit beefier. Should have known better. That one's on me. Yeah. As I mentioned at the beginning of the video, the A26 served as a mid-range attack bomber during World War II, the Korean War, and in Vietnam. The plane actually carried out multiple tasks, including bombing, ground attacks, reconnaissance, and night interdiction, which is a fancy way of saying that it destroyed and disrupted enemy targets at night. During the Korean War, the A26 would be responsible for the destruction of 38,500 vehicles, 406 locomotives, and 3,700 railway cars. Alright, so I need to mount the engine cowling onto the nacelle, and I'm not entirely sure how to go about that. So the nacelle, or the cowling, has to sit on perfectly to the nacelle, but it covers up these little mounting brackets. There's 4 of them all around the motor, and you're supposed to just put a little screw in them. And so I'm not entirely sure how I'm gonna make sure this fits on right. And poke holes into this to mount it. But what's actually funny is that the real life A26 also had a problem with the engine nacelles, to where 2 people were required to take apart the nacelle so they could work on the engines. And this is something that they had to fix in later production models so that only one person would be able to take apart the nacelles and work on the engine, and that way less engineers were required when these airplanes would inevitably come back for more full of bullet holes or issues or motor problems. So kind of funny how that works. Right, so through much struggling later, I didn't think it'd work, but I put tape on the inside of the cowling there, and it's holding in place right now where I need it to, which is pretty cool. So we're gonna try and poke some holes in it and get it to mount up. So I just had these Power HD servos show up in the mail today, and we're gonna go ahead and get right into installing them. Now these servos are probably a bit overkill at almost 300 ounces of torque, but they come in at a great price, around 20 bucks a piece, and they're known for being reliable. Now this would also be a huge aspect of the real life A26, as the Bomber was known for having amazing flight characteristics and a pretty impressive top speed at 363 miles an hour. So check it out, this is the little plate that I just pulled off the wing, and it's actually designed to just fit the servo right in. You have to drill holes through the top there, and your servo will just slide right in the plate, and then you put the plate back in the wing. Now I have not gotten a chance to mess with some nicer ARFs yet, almost ready to fly aircraft. So this is pretty cool. This is really a nifty little design, and I'm excited to try it out. So you heard me mention earlier that the A26 had great flight characteristics and was pretty quick. So why was it hated? I mean, especially by the 5th Air Force. The first 4 production models of the A26 ended up being grounded, and the motors were pickled, which means they are taken off the aircraft and essentially drenched in oil and preserved for later use. Problems arose with visibility, or the lack thereof. Because the engine nacelles sat parallel with the cockpit, the pilots couldn't actually see out of their right or left. And because the canopy was armored on top, the pilots couldn't really see above them either. And to fix the issue, Douglas actually redesigned the entire cockpit and canopy of the A26 by raising it up off of the fuselage and also creating a full bubble top canopy made completely of fiberglass. While I'm throwing decals on the airplane, I figured this might be a good time to get a little bit more into the specs of the A26 Invader. Now, when the original production model came out, there was actually 3 different variations that were made, and each variation had a different style nose. Now, the 2 main designs were a glass, like almost bubble top nose, and that was specifically made for bombing because the vision was quite a bit better. And there was also a solid nose like this one that could house up to 8 .50 caliber machine guns. They also had variations that included having a 75mm cannon along with 35mm cannons. Oh, it's heavy. All right, clearly nose heavy. So they suggest that if you're having problems with the Bomber being nose heavy, to put some weight in the back. And I think they knew this might be a problem because they actually add quite a bit of space in the back end of this to be able to put lead in, like so. Just kind of fold that in. And so now we have some weight in our tail, and we can just slide that right back on. Hopefully that should help to balance this out a little better. All right, guys.
Battery is low.
We are back here at the field. We're about to do the remaiden of the A26, and so we're just gonna get right on with it. Hopefully everything goes well. I'm a little nervous, but we have a lot more power this time, so wish me luck. We'll taxi out and turn around. we go, guys. Turn, 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 turn. Oh, there goes the hatch. Yikes. Oh man, not flying good. Not flying good at all. I know, let me just get some adjustments done. Oh, no, there it goes.
Telemetry lost.
Ooh. Man, well guys, I don't know. I couldn't get it to straighten out very well. So we'll have to go and pick up the pieces. It is what it is. What are you gonna do at this point? It got up in the air, but I don't know, it didn't want to level out at all. That could be because of the first time I wrecked it, and the angle of the motors could be off when I glued it back on. So we'll go and take a look at the damage. The first set of electronics is all good. Batteries are clear. ESC is good. And the motor feels fine. Oh, and the GoPro. Survived another day. So if you're a little confused about what happened, let me explain. The first flight of the A26 did not go well at all. We had 2 cameras go down and we lost the footage for both of those. The only footage that survived of that flight was the GoPro footage, which you'll see now. So when I went to take off the airplane for the first time, I was at full throttle. I managed to get off the ground a little bit and then immediately realized this was not going to be enough power at all. So when I brought the plane down, I ended up in a cornfield and snapped the wing along with the landing gear. So I had to bring that back to the house and essentially epoxy everything back together. And I think what happened is that when I epoxied the wings back together, the thrust angle of the motors was slightly off or offset, and that caused the whole airplane to want to torque over. So for the second flight, as soon as I took off, I was fighting the airplane. I had full left aileron and rudder, and it was just all over the place. So as I got around to the middle of the flying field, I decided to pull back on the throttle to give myself a moment to breathe. And I think that's the exact time when the airplane stalled. And there's a lot of factors that go into that. A few of them being that the plane was way overweight, it was underpowered, the flaps were down, and the retracts were down as well, which caused a lot of extra drag. So I say all that to say, guys, don't make the same mistakes I did. This all started with the fact that the motors I got were not powerful enough on 6-cell. I'm someone that just normally looks at motors and planes and kind of guesstimates and normally can get pretty close to what I need. And I was absolutely wrong for this. So don't follow after my lead, learn from my mistakes. I love this hobby and have a great time with it, but I am by no means a professional. I'm still learning myself, and it's a lot of fun, but unfortunately you do wreck them sometimes, and that's pretty sad. I spent a lot of time on this plane and making these videos, and so you hate to see it happen, but once again, learn from my mistakes, guys, and go out there and build huge projects and have a great time with them. So if you enjoyed this video, please consider subscribing, as it's subscribers like you that allow me to work on giant projects like the one behind me. And we'll hopefully see you in a few weeks with a new plane and another story.